Okay folks, very good morning. Now as we make our way down through London, I'll be pointing out a few of the places and the items of interest in the form of a live commentary. Please bear with me as I do this. I'm not a professional guy, I'm a crew member, so I must ask you bear with any mistakes or lies I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to start off on the right hand side there, the large white Ferris wheel. That's the London Eye. It stands at a height of 450 feet tall. 32 of the glass pods surrounding the wheel, one for each of London's 32 boroughs, although there are only 31 at the moment. One's been taken out for repair. They carry 25 people each for a maximum capacity of 800 people on board. Originally built by British Airways, today owned and managed by Merlin, the entertainment company. Now, have a look on your left-hand side there, folks. Large grey boat, red and blue funnel. That's the Tattershall Castle. She started her life as a ferry on the River Humber, brought onto the Thames, originally opened as a floating art gallery. She'd sadly go bankrupt after just 4 years. Closed down as a floating pub, where, believe it or not, the Tattershall Castle she'd go on to make more money in the first hour as a pub than she did in the entire 4 years as an art gallery. It just goes to show you the type of artist we have here in London. Also on the left there, just behind the trees, there's a lovely white Gothic style building, and that is the site for the old Whitehall Court Mansions. Originally constructed in the 1860s, it first served as the headquarters for London's Liberal Club. Today though, you're going to find the 5-star Royal Horse Guards Hotel inside the building, as well as bars, gentlemen's clubs and apartments. Oscar Wilde for a time, as well as a man called Lloyd George, one of the country's former prime ministers. And just in front of us we have the first of many bridges we'll pass beneath on our journey downstream today, Charing Cross Railway Bridge. In the week it's a very busy railway crossing. They say trains pass over roughly every 2 minutes. Somehow they all still seem to be late as well. You'll also see the 2 pedestrian walkways on either side. These are the Golden Jubilee foot bridges. That's it folks, always give people on the bridge there a nice wave, see if anyone waves back here. This isn't to be friendly folks, it's just to keep their hands busy, stop them from throwing things at you. Got a lot of strange people here in London folks. There's a large stone obelisk surrounded by 2 black sphinxes. That's called Cleopatra's Needle. It's London's oldest monument there. This stone obelisk is over 3,500 years old, making it older than London itself. And that was a gift to the country by the Viceroy of Egypt after Admiral Lord Nelson's victory over Emperor Napoleon and the French fleet during the Battle of the River Nile. 3 of these obelisks are in existence. Of course, we have one here in central London. The French, they also have one for coming in 2nd place. Their one's in Paris. Our good friends, the Americans, they have an obelisk of their own as well. And their one's on display in Central Park, New York City in the United States of America. Now, we just have to make our first stop on the left there, folks. That's Embankment Pier. We're going to collect a few more people that are going to join us for our journey downstream, so please do bear with us. Once we leave Festival Pier, folks, we will cross over, once we leave Embankment Pier, I should say, and we will then cross over to Festival.
On the right hand side, the jets. Also downstairs in the lobby area, as some of you have already found, we do have a fully licensed bar, serving tea, coffee, hot chocolate, soft drinks, light bar snacks. Most importantly of all, on a lovely sunny day like today, beer, wine and spirits. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. There is no smoking anywhere on board. Please do refrain from smoking at all times. If you have children, they are to be supervised by an adult at all times. Children are not to walk freely around the vessel by themselves. Finally folks, very importantly, for those of you on the top deck or anyone wishing to come up onto the top deck, there is strictly no standing area while the vessel is moving. The whole time that you remain upstairs, you must be seated. Of course, we don't mind if you're going downstairs to the bar, to the toilet, or to seek shelter from the weather. That's perfectly fine. You are free to move around the vessel as you please, but the whole time you remain on the top deck, you must be seated. This is for health and safety reasons. Thank you very much. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to contact a crew member. Sit back, relax, enjoy your cruise. Thank you.
Okay folks, continuing on with the commentary now. The next bridge we're just about to pass beneath. This is the Waterloo Road Bridge. It's also known in London as the Ladies' Bridge. It was built back in 1945 by mostly female labour. The majority of the men, they were away fighting in the armed forces throughout the Second World War. The bridge is also faced with a very expensive, self-cleaning Portland stone. Every time it rains in London, which is usually about 5 or 6 times a day, this bridge receives a very thorough wash. Now, just as we pass beneath the bridge, look immediately on the left-hand side, we'll see a large white building with a domed roof and a flagpole on the top, and that's called Somerset House. Now, originally, it was built to serve as the residence for the Dukes and the Earls of Somerset. They, however, would never get to live inside the building. They were all found to be traitors to the throne, and they were executed under the orders of King Henry VIII. Now, up until about 20 years ago, folks, Somerset House actually served a very sinister purpose. It was actually the headquarters of one of the largest criminal organisations in the country, HMRC, the Taxman. Today, the building's mostly campus space for King's College of London University. Now, if you just take a look on the right there, there's a large concrete building with a flashing sign. That's our National Theatre. Now, the building's made up of 3 separate theatres. Inside, you'll find the Littleton, Dorfman, the 1400-seater Lord Olivier theatres. It's also been described by several of London's leading architects as being one of the ugliest looking buildings in London. King Charles definitely agrees with this. In an interview, when he was still the Prince of Wales, he described the National Theatre as resembling the back end to a nuclear power station, so clearly not very impressed. But just over on the left now, folks, just ahead of us, we're going to see a large white boat there with a cream funnel, and that's called the HQS Wellington, a former Second World War New Zealand naval ship. She served throughout the North Atlantic convoys as a support and rescue vessel. She was decommissioned after her military service and donated to the British Royal Navy. She sat here in London ever since as a floating drinking hall for retired sea captains. Now, just at the back of the Wellington, in amongst those trees there, we can just see the top of a large stone archway, and that's called the Temple Arch, or the Temple Gate, and it serves as the official dividing boundary between 2 cities. We have the city of Westminster here that we're just leaving, and we're now just entering into the 1 square mile City of London. And not a lot of people know this, but London itself, the City of London, is one of the smallest capital cities in the world, covering an area of just 1 square mile. The boundary marks of the city are from the Temple Arch there, all the way along this north side of the river, down to Tower Bridge, its easternmost boundary. You can often tell when you're about to enter into the square mile city, as at each of the major land entrances you'll find silver dragons. There are 2 there on the left hand side, either side of the main road there. Now, they say these silver dragons are said to ward off and prevent evil from entering into the city. I can tell you now though, folks, this is a lie. Those statues, they don't work. I know this personally, and that's because my ex-girlfriend walks past those 2 statues every day on her way into work. They clearly don't work very well. Now, just on the right hand side there, folks, you can see there's a red building there, stone spire and the glass letters OXO. That's called Stanford Wharf, better known in London as the Oxo Tower, and this is the original headquarters and factory for the Oxo Gravy Stock Cube Company. Now, every night a red light shines in this tower. You can see the word OXO lit up all across the banks of the river, effectively advertising the company's product. However, you're not allowed to do this on the Thames. The river is deemed a royal highway. It has some of the strictest advertisement laws in the country. Now, due to these strict laws, a lengthy court battle took place over this building. The Oxo company would eventually win. Today it's a grade 2 listed structure. It can never legally be demolished, and the exterior must not be changed. Of course, it's no longer a factory today. Today you'll find shops at the bottom, luxury apartments in the middle, and there's a 5-star Harvey Nichols restaurant at the very top. Now if we just take a look on the left here, folks, we can see there's a white building there with a green roof and a spire on the top. That's the original site for the old City of London School for Boys. Now over the years, lots of our former Prime Ministers and elder statesmen would have began their education in this building. Most notably, a man that we're probably all familiar with by the name of Sir Winston Spencer Churchill. He was our wartime Prime Minister. At the front of the building there, between the 5 archway windows, you can see some figures carved into the stonework, and these are depictions of some of England's most notable scholars. From left to right, they're of John Milton, Sir Thomas More, Sir Isaac Newton. The one on the end there, holding the football, well, that's David Beckham. Now, of course, I'm only joking, folks. We all know David never went to school. The last statue, that's William Shakespeare. Now, just in front of us, we've got Blackfriars Road Bridge, opened in 1869 by Queen Victoria. Now, as we begin to pass underneath the bridge, just ahead of us, look on both sides of the boat, we're going to see there are 8 large red columns sticking out of the riverbed. These are the remains to the Alexandra St Paul's Railway Bridge. Designed by Brunel, the Victorian engineer, it used to support the Chatham to Dover railway lines. Now, I say used to, as we can see today, the top half of the bridge is gone. It became unstable in the 80s. Some of these old columns, though, they've been used to widen the next bridge here, Blackfriars Railway Bridge. This bridge was widened in 2012. They built a new train station on top, Blackfriars National Rail. It's the only train station in London you can access on both sides of the river. Now, as we pass beneath the bridges, take a look on the right hand side here. We have the South Bank. This is the area of Bankside. Mostly arts and entertainment here today. Back during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, this was the red light district of London. Over here you could have found bear baiting pits, cockfighting pits, riverside taverns, theatres and houses and dens of horizontal pleasure. All of this was built on land that was owned by the Bishop of Winchester. We'll also see a large brick building with a tall chimney stack on the right there, and that was once the site for the old Bankside power station. Now originally this was an oil burning power station, but due to the higher cost of oil it was forced to close down, and today it now serves as the home for the Tate Modern Arts Gallery. The Tate Modern is completely free to enter, folks. You pay nothing for the admission. After walking around the building for about 5 minutes, you do tend to understand why. Inside, you're going to find exhibits such as unmade beds, light bulbs that flicker on and off, and piles of empty beer cans. If there's anyone on the boat interested in seeing anything like that, you can come round my house. I won't charge you either. Now, if you're more of a fan of traditional art, we do have a lovely view on the left here of the light grey dome and the golden cross of St Paul's Cathedral. Designed by the architect Sir Christopher Wren, this cathedral took over 35 years to build. Finished construction in the year 1710. It's also the second largest unsupported cathedral dome in the world. Now the next bridge here, this is the Millennium Footbridge, designed by an architect called Sir Norman Foster, and it opened back in January year 2000. Now the people on the bridge, they look quite happy. It's probably because they don't know this bridge was unstable when it first opened. On this bridge's opening day, it actually violently shook from side to side like a rope bridge in the jungle, and it earned the bridge its nickname, the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge. It would go on to cost a further $5 million to stabilise. If you're also a fan of the Harry Potter films, this bridge also gets destroyed. I believe it's in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Now just on the right there, folks, we can see there's a white circular building with those oak beams and the thatched roof there. That's a replica of William Shakespeare's Globe Playhouse Theatre, and that was built largely by the efforts of an American film producer called Sam Wanamaker back in 1997. You can visit the Globe today. You can watch any one of Shakespeare's plays being reenacted. It's also the only building in London allowed to be constructed from both timber and thatch since our Great Fire of 1666. Now, if we take a look on the left, folks, we can see there's a white building there with those 4 pillars at the front. That's called Vintners Place. It's the headquarters for the Vintners Company of London. And they're the old wine merchants. Now, I've been told that all wine, port and brandy to be imported into the capital must first be sent to this building for taste testing before it's allowed to go on sale. So the people who work in here, they will spend Monday to Friday 8 hours a day drinking alcohol. What a horrible job. Someone has to do it. The next bridge in front of us, this is called Southwark Road Bridge, opened back in 1921. Just before we pass under it though, on the right you can see there's a set of stairs leading down into the river. That's called Southwark Causeway. For the 35 years it took to build St Paul's Cathedral, so Christopher Wren, he lived here at Bankside. He'd make his way to those stairs every day to be ferried across the river by a Thames waterman to overlook the construction of the cathedral on the opposite shore. And if anyone's ever read the Charles Dickens novel, Oliver, these are the stairs mentioned in the novel as Nancy's stairs. Now also on the right hand side there, folks, we can see there's a brown brick house with some red painted window frames there. And that's called the Anchor Tavern at Bankside. Now, this Thameside Tavern is over 400 years old. William Shakespeare, he actually used to take his actors into the attic of this very tavern to use it as a dressing room before performing their plays in the original Globe Theatre, which stood nearby in Park Street. For some strange reason, the original Globe Theatre didn't have any dressing rooms. Now, apart from the backstage area, there was only really one other room, the Golden Hind. Sir Francis Drake was a privateer, a licensed pirate. He was also the first Englishman to sail around the world, which he did in about 3 years. I believe it was from 1547 to 1550, it might have been earlier. But when he returned, he brought his ship back completely full of Spanish gold. The gold was gifted to Queen Elizabeth I. It was then used to clear the country's national debt, and he was knighted at the Queen's Stairs in Deptford. Now, you can see there's a bit of a scaffold around the ship at the moment. They're carrying out some restoration works to prepare her for her 3rd voyage around the world. Now, if we take a look on the left, we can just see the top of a large white column of a golden top piece. That's Wren's monument to the Great Fire of London of 1666. It was designed to resemble a wax candle. If you were to lay this monument down easterly, which is the direction that we're travelling in now, the golden top piece would strike the point of the fire was believed to have started a small baker shop in Pudding Lane. And the next bridge in front of us, this one's actually London Bridge. Now, a London Bridge has stood on, or very close to this site, for almost 2,000 years. The first one was built by the Romans in 43 AD. The bridge we have here today, this is the 4th one. It was opened by our late Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, back in 1973. The old London Bridge though, the 3rd one, that began to sink into the mud of the river. It was taken down stone by stone and sold to an American businessman called Paxton McCulloch for £2.4 million, and it was then rebuilt over Lake Havasu at the edge of the Arizona desert in the United States of America. He was a bit shocked though when his bridge arrived, because he realised he bought the wrong one. He wanted to buy a Tower Bridge, but that one's not for sale. Now, just up to the right there, folks, you might have noticed earlier on, there's a very tall glass skyscraper there, and that's called the Shard. Now, at the moment, it is the tallest building in Western Europe. It stands at a height of 1,016 feet. And it was designed by an Italian architect called Renzo Piano, and it finished construction in 2012. Now, inside the Shard, folks, you can find bars, restaurants, office space, apartments. There's even a 6-star hotel in the building called the Shangri-La. Now, if you go up to the 72nd floor, they have a viewing gallery. They call it the View from the Shard. However, last I checked anyway, they will charge you about £28.50 per person just to get in a lift. and look out of a window. Now, it's not really worth it if you ask me. In my opinion, there is a much better alternative just on the left there. We have a building, a skyscraper, that gets wider as it gets taller. That's called number 20 Fenchurch Street. It's also known as the walkie-talkie building. And on the top floor of that skyscraper, they have a botanical garden. It's called the Sky Garden of London. That's actually free to go up to. And they even have 2 bars and a restaurant up there. With that £28.50 you've now saved by not going up to the Shard, you can go to the Sky Garden and you'll be able to get yourself half a lager and a packet of peanuts, if you're lucky anyway. And just behind number 20 Fenchurch Street, just coming into view now, you'll see an even taller skyscraper. It looks like 2 rectangles stuck together, and that building's called 22 Bishopsgate, and there's another free viewing gallery on top of that building as well, and it's called Horizon 22. Not a lot of people know about that one, as it's only a few years old now. Now just on the right here, folks, London's very own warship. This is the C-35 HMS Belfast. She was built in the same shipyards in Belfast, Northern Ireland, as the Titanic, the Harland and Wolff shipyards. She was launched on St Patrick's Day 1938 and served throughout the Second World War. She was also served throughout the Korean War campaign as well. She was the flagship for the United Nations. But today she's permanently moored in London. She's now part of the Imperial War Museum, open 7 days a week. All 9 of her decks are available to explore. You can see the large orange circular things alongside her as well. She doubles up as a London cruise ship terminal as well. And sometimes naval vessels that visit London, they also moor up alongside the HMS Belfast as well. Just over on the left hand side here, folks, we can see the large castle there. It's the world famous Tower of London. Now the oldest section of the castle is the centre tower with those 4 taller turrets and the flagpole, and that's called the Norman's Keep, or the White Tower, and that was built under the reign of William the Conqueror back in the year 1078. Now, the tower's served many purposes over its lifetime. It's been a royal palace, fortress, mint observatory, even a royal zoo. Most infamously, though, as a state prison, place of torture and execution. Traitors of nobility, they would have been rowed through the once open archway on the river's wall there that reads "Entry to the Traitor's Gate." They would then be imprisoned inside the bloody tower before eventually being dragged up to the Tower Hill behind the castle to have their heads chopped off via a rusty axe. The severed heads would then be placed on a spike and displayed on the old London Bridge. But we're actually not allowed to do this in London anymore, so we don't. And today, the Tower of London is a museum. It's also the home of the Crown Jewels, closely guarded by London's beefeaters. Now, just in front of us, folks, we've got the Tower Bridge, designed by a man called Sir John Wolfe Barry, finished construction in 1894. It's a twin suspension and bascule bridge, and what that means is you see the 2 centre roadways there, even though they both weigh 1,100 tonnes apiece, they lift up like a double drawbridge to become fully upright in just under 90 seconds to allow larger ships in and out of London. It's the bridge often referred to as the gateway to the city. You can still cross the bridge on this lift, and look at the very top there, folks. You'll see there are 2 catwalks up there. They're open to the public. If you look carefully, you'll notice there's some glass pavements in these catwalks as well. So if you go up there, you can look down and watch the boats pass under you. Now, please be careful, folks, if you look up through these glass pavements. We found this out the hard way the other day. Now, we passed under the bridge the other afternoon, and there was a Scottish wedding reception taking place up there, so just be careful. Now, if you're hanging around the area today, we do have our next stop just on the right there. That's Butler's Wall Pier. Very shortly, folks, we are going to turn the boat around to start heading into the pier. Anyone on board with a Tower Bridge ticket, got a Tower ticket of any kind, single, return or round trip, you'll be leaving us here at the Tower, because this boat, we continue down to Greenwich now, so any passengers with a Greenwich ticket should remain on board. Now, Just remain in your seats now, folks, until we are safely moored up alongside. We are going to spin the boat completely around so we're facing Tower Bridge when we go alongside the pier. It's a good time, even if you're not getting off here, just to have a little look around, double check you have all your personal belongings with you. Just make sure you have your phones, keys, wallets, cameras, bags, husbands, wives, girlfriends, both if you're lucky or unlucky, and children, folks. Please make sure you take all your children with you, not just your favourite ones. Please take all of them. Very concerning how many get left on these boats. I've collected 6 at home now. They all speak different languages, making conversations around a dinner table very difficult. So please don't forget to take your children home with you as well. Now, if you're going to be getting off here, just one final thing, quick word about the commentary. As I mentioned earlier, you've probably noticed by now, but we're not professional guides on these boats. We are just crew members. We do learn these commentaries in the hopes of making your journeys with us a little bit more interesting, hopefully even entertaining or enjoyable. If you feel like I've done this for any of you on board this morning, you'd like to show a form of appreciation for my efforts as a guide, you can do so as you leave the boat here at the tower. By the exit door, I'm going to stand there holding a silver champagne ice bucket, which is just the boat's little tip bucket, an old tradition here on the river. If you'd like, as you leave, you can place a few pound coins, notes, dollars or euros into it. We also now have a little QR code as well, which you can scan, because not a lot of people like to carry cash anymore in these strange modern times we live in. I must stress though, folks, it is entirely voluntary on your behalf to contribute anything towards the guide. Just as I mentioned that it was done voluntary on my behalf, but please don't forget, when you get off, I am the young man who stands by the exit door and helps you off the boat. Now, if you're continuing your journey to Greenwich, folks, just sit tight. The commentary will resume as soon as we leave this pier. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to ask me as you leave, or if you have any questions regarding tickets and returning boat times, just ask a member of ticket staff here at Butler's Wharf Pier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay folks, once again, as my colleague has just mentioned, please remain seated at this point until the boat is safely moored alongside the pier. I'll notify you when it's safe for you to leave your seats and make your way towards the exit. Until such time, please be patient.
Any day of the week, almost any day of the year, there is only one day throughout the whole year that Tower Bridge won't lift up. It's not Christmas Day or the King's birthday. The day it doesn't lift is the day of the London Marathon. That's because the marathon runners run over the bridge as part of the route, which I do find very boring. They do adjust how high they can lift the bridge up, so I have suggested several times they make a slight gap in the bridge, lift it up slightly, and then make the marathon runners jump over it, as it would make the London Marathon a lot more entertaining, but also a little bit of a challenge as well. Now, unfortunately, they are very slow lifting the bridge up today, so I don't think we're going to get to see it, unfortunately, but hey-oh. If you are interested in seeing the bridge lift while you're in London though, folks, you can look it up online. Just type in Tower Bridge lifts, then it goes to the bridge's website, and it has a table, a schedule of all the bridge's lifting times. Now we're approaching the summer months, it's going to lift up a lot more. In the winter it barely goes up, but we get a lot of cruise ships come into London, these sailing barges doing charters, and also bigger boats like the Dixie Queen back there, they get the bridge lifted quite often. So now the summer time is here, you're more likely to see a bridge lift here in London. Another old dock just over there on the right, that's the old dock entrance to St Saviour's Docks, also known as Dockhead on Bermondsey. If anyone's ever seen the old Charles Dickens film, or the novel Oliver, the musical adaptation, the Lionel Bart film, filmed in the 50s, a lot of that was filmed in the docks over there, as the original author Charles Dickens, he was actually living in Bermondsey whilst he wrote the original novel. And Charles Dickens had a bit of a quirk of basing a lot of characters in his novels on people he would have met whilst living in different areas of London. Now, just ahead of us on the left there, folks, we're going to see a building with Oliver's Wharf painted across the side of it. Now, Oliver's Wharf was an old riverside warehouse that was later converted into riverside apartments. It was one of the first of the old warehouses to be converted, setting a trend, if you would. For many years, a very famous singer and actress called Cher, she actually owned the penthouse apartment of that building. She was getting a little bit fed up though with us pleasure boats constantly telling everyone where she lived. We would receive countless cease and desist letters, all of which we ignored. Eventually she got so fed up, she decided to pack up and move to a new apartment in Chelsea Harbour. Apartment Block A, apartment number 27. We haven't missed much, folks. Bridge still hasn't lifted up, so that sailing barge is waiting patiently. We shouldn't get any further downstream, so he might lose his mast in a minute. Tower Bridge actually breaks down quite a lot now. They changed the lifting mechanisms. They used to be steam powered, but today they're hydraulic and they break down a lot more often than when they were steam powered. We should go back really. If we look back to the left though, literally just next to Oliver's Wharf, shortly to come into view, there's a little brown brick house attached to Oliver's Wharf there, and that's an old Thameside tavern called the Town of Ramsgate. Now, back in the 1600s to the early 1700s, the town of Ramsgate was used as an admiralty call by a man called Hanging Judge Jeffreys. Anyone arrested by the British Empire for the crimes of piracy or smuggling, they would have been sent into the old tavern there to be tried by Judge Jeffreys. If they were found guilty of their crimes, they would receive their last tot of rum. They would then be dragged down the stairs there on the low tide and along the exposed beach here. They'd be walked along the wall on the left to this building with the capital letter E in the apex. And that's called Execution Dock. It was there at Execution Dock where Judge Jeffreys would sentence his prisoners to their deaths. They would first be hung by the neck, and then they were chained to the river's wall here to await for 3 high tides to pass over their heads before pronouncing them well and truly dead. They used to call that form of execution the grace of whopping. Oh, the bridge is finally going up now. A little bit better late than never. But whilst those old executions were taking place, Judge Jeffreys would get a waterman to row him across the river, where he'd sit in this tavern just on the right hand side there. That's called the Angel. He would sit on the balcony of that tavern, drinking a pint of ale, watching his executions taking place on the opposite shore. He said he used to find this highly amusing. Now just on the left there, folks, there's a yellow and blue pier with the police boats tied up alongside. That's called Wapping Police Pier, and that's the headquarters for the River Thames Division of the Metropolitan Police. And they're one of the oldest uniformed police forces in the world, set up in 1789 by 3 Scotsmen called Patrick Colquhoun, John Harriot and Robert Peel. And they were working under the East India Shipping Company to combat all the rampant amounts of piracy taking place on the Thames. They had become so successful, Robert Peel would later break off and go on to form the land-based Metropolitan Police. This is said to be where the nickname Bobbies for the police in England originated from, as they were all once Robert Peel's men. And just on the right-hand side here, folks, we have a church spire. This is St Mary's Church, Rotherhithe. A very famous man is buried in the graveyard of this church, a man called Captain Christopher Jones. He was the master, the captain, of the pilgrim ship Mayflower, which was constructed and launched over here at Rotherhithe. It would later set sail to Southampton to pick up some pilgrim fathers, make a quick pit stop in Plymouth, and then cross the North Atlantic to the New World of America. This was done with a crew of around 40 local men. You'll also see 2 flagpoles sticking out of the river wall there on the right, flying the British and American flags. There's a white house behind that, and that's called the Mayflower Public House. Now, there's a very famous pub, or it's a very special pub I should say. It's the only pub in England legally allowed to sell you both British and American postage stamps over the bar with your pint, and that's to honour American and Anglo relations. Although I have heard they might stop doing this soon. Also here on the right, there's a small open space there with some trees. That's called Pilgrim's Park. It's devoted to the crew of the Mayflower. Now if you look very carefully, folks, just underneath an old lamppost there, you'll see a cast iron statue of a pilgrim father with his funny hat standing next to his son. Now the son, he holds a book in his hand, and it lists each of the names of the members of crew who would have served on board the ship. Now we're going to cross over to the left hand side, where In between some of the old buildings there, we can see another white house overlooking the river, and that's called the Prospect of Whitby. It's believed to be the oldest pub on the banks of the River Thames. It was established around the year 1520, and that's back during the reign of King Henry VIII. But back then though, it wasn't called the Prospect, it was originally known as the Devil's Tavern, due to all the unsavoury characters you'd find inside there, mostly river pirates, smugglers and hired cutthroats. The original pub would burn down around the 1800s. When they rebuilt it, they were legally allowed to fly the Royal Navy's white ensign, their flag. Now also here on the left, we've got an opening in the river wall with a bridge on top, the old lock entrance to Limehouse Marina. If you have a small enough boat, like an old canal barge, you can enter into that marina, find yourself in Limehouse Basin, travel up to North London, Camden Lock, Little Venice, join up with the Regent's Canal and the Grand Union Canals, and as you wind your way through all the canal systems of England, you can travel as far as Birmingham, Liverpool, or even Manchester. If you wanted to make this journey though, it would take you a while, probably about 2 to 3 weeks, as you will be travelling at a maximum speed of about 3 miles an hour. You'd also have to get yourself through almost 200 lock entrances. It's no longer a commercial dock today, so the old dockmaster's house by the entrance, that's now been converted into a gastropub, and that's called the Narrow, and it's owned by Gordon Ramsay, celebrity chef. If you're wondering what the difference between a gastropub and a regular pub is, it's about an additional £3.50 per pint. But we do have another Thameside pub on the left here. In amongst these houses, we'll see a white building with 3 wooden balconies, and that's called the Grapes of Limehouse. Charles Dickens was living in the tiny attic room of this Thameside pub whilst he was writing his novel, Our Mutual Friends. Back then though, the pub wasn't called the Grapes, it was known as the Six Johnny Fellowship of Porters, which is a bit of a mouthful, so I'm not surprised they've changed the name. The pub today is owned by a very famous British actor, a man called Sir Ian McKellen, but you might know him a bit better as Gandalf for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. You'll be glad to know that Gandalf's wizard staff's on display behind the bar of the pub as well. The pub came up for sale around 10 years ago. Sir Ian McKellen lives very close, and rather it get turned into more riverside apartments, he decided to buy it and keep it as a pub. Now I can't tell you which of those houses is owned by Sir Ian McKellen, but he's a big fan of orange statues, if that helps. Now just in front of us here folks, we can see all these tall glass buildings. That's all part of the Canary Wharf development. Now Canary Wharf was built on the site where we once found the old West India Docks. Now the West India Docks was once London's main commercial shipping hub, and that was all built on an area of London called the Island of Dogs. Now the Island of Dogs, this area here, gets its name dating back to the reign of King Henry VIII. Now back when they had the Royal Palace at Greenwich, he used to keep all of his hunting dogs over here, as this is all marshland originally. Their house, carried across the water, would keep a lot of people awake at night, so the area was dubbed the Island of Dogs. They then built the West India Docks into this marshland here, incorporating the natural flow of the river into the enclosed dock system. You're going to see, just past Canary Wharf Pier, just in front of us there by those trees, that was once one of the lock entrances into the West India Docks. If you was in a bit of a hurry, you could lock into the docks here. You could cut a big bend out of the River Thames. If you cut through here, you come out actually past Greenwich, near the O2 Arena, near North Greenwich, Blackwall Point, that area there. So it cuts a big bend out. But the West India Docks would fall into decline in the late 80s, and a pair of Canadian brothers called the Reichman brothers would end up purchasing a lot of the property in this area, redeveloping it into London's second financial district. You can see a lot of skyscrapers here today. Lots of them are owned by very well established banks. You'll find buildings owned by Citibank, HSBC, JP Morgan and Barclays. The first skyscraper they built over here is that one just behind this very tall building here, the one with a pyramid style roof and the flashing beacon on the top, and that's called the Canada Tower. It stands at number 1 Canada Square. They actually built it into the dock itself. So when they first built it, to add like basement floors, they built these cofferdams in the dock itself. They pumped the water out and they built it right into the dock itself. But that was actually built also right in the direct flight path of London City Airport. That's why it has that flashing light on the top. Now, they just continue to build more and more skyscrapers over here. It's going to look like a little bit of a mini Manhattan when they're done. There are plans to build a new skyscraper over here to rival or even surpass the height of the Shard back at London Bridge. We'll see how they get on with that with London City Airport so close by. Now that we've passed Canary Wharf, we've now entered into a part of the river called Limehouse Reach. It's also known as Windy Reach as well. As we start to lose the shelter we had from some of these taller buildings, you'll feel the wind pick up down here. It's not too bad today, but every now and then you do get quite a few strong gusts of wind, so if anyone's on the top deck with a loose fitting hat or a wig, you might want to hang on to it. I've seen many a syrup blown to a watery grave down here, so just be careful. Now if we take a look down the river just in front of us, we will see nothing. There's not really a lot to talk about down here. If you do look around, it's mainly apartments from here on out, but don't worry, we are nearly our destination of Greenwich Pier. Just as you round the next bend in the river in front of us, we're going to see Greenwich come into view very shortly. When we approach the pier, I will be telling you a little bit about the Royal Borough. Now, as far as the returning boat times today, folks, if there's anyone on board with a round-trip ticket, or if you have a return ticket, you don't really want to get off the boat at Greenwich, you'd rather just go straight back. You can just stay on board this boat when we get to Greenwich and come back with us immediately. Our scheduled departure time is going to be at 11:40, so we are leaving in 10 minutes, so we will be straight in and straight out at Greenwich, only alongside briefly. So you can come back with us immediately, 11:40, or if you'd like to get off at Greenwich, have a look around the area, see some of the sights, sample some of the local pubs, a lot of good pubs in Greenwich. You can catch later returning boats back today every half an hour, every 30 minutes. The boats will be leaving Greenwich on 10 minutes past the hour and 20 minutes to the hour, so 10 and 40 minutes past. The final boat to leave Greenwich today leaves at 10 minutes past 6. 10 past 6 is the final departure. The last boat is also a direct service to Westminster. It doesn't make Okay folks, we are making our approach into Greenwich Pier. Now, just before we get to Greenwich, you might have noticed the very large cruise ship on the right hand side. I say large, that's about a standard sized cruise ship. She's moored up in Greenwich Ships here. This is a natural deep water berth in the River Thames. On the lowest astronomical tides, there'll always be guaranteed 19.5 metres of water here, making it safe for these cruise ships and large naval vessels to moor up here without the risk of running aground. Now, just past the bow of this cruise ship, you'll see a three-masted sailing vessel. That's the famous tea clipper, Cutty Sark, built in Dumbarton in Scotland, moored in Greenwich Dry Dock since the 1950s. Now, she was originally built to serve as a China tea clipper. She would only ever get to make one voyage to China before the route was deemed obsolete, and then she turned her sights to the Australian War Run. Today, is a museum ship open to the public. Now, just to the right of the Cutty Sark, in amongst the trees of Greenwich Park, you're going to see a castle-like building there with a light green dome. That's the Royal Greenwich Observatory. The prime meridian runs through the centre of this building. That's where you find 0 degrees longitude. You can stroll between both the eastern and the western hemispheres. You can also have 1 foot in the east and 1 foot in the west if you can do the split. On top of the observatory is a large black T-piece of a red ball, and that's the timekeeping device. Every day at 12:55 that ball starts to rise to the top, and at exactly 1 o'clock it then drops down, and this is where we get Greenwich Mean Time from, GMT. All clocks in England are based off of this, or at least they were until we put them forward an hour for British summertime. The ball drop is adjusted for British summertime, so you can see that rise and fall just before 1 o'clock this afternoon. The large white building there, just on the right-hand side of the 2 domes on the top, that's the site of the Royal Greenwich Naval College, former headquarters and training grounds for the British Royal Navy. This is where Sir Admiral Lord Nelson would have learned his craft. Today, though, it's the home of the University of Greenwich. It's their campus. You'll also find the National Maritime Museum behind the building. Now, we're making our way into the pier now, folks. If you're leaving us here, please make sure you have all your personal belongings with you. Please don't leave anything on board the boat to spoil your day. We are at our scheduled departure at 11:40, so we'll be straight in and straight out here, folks. We were held up a little bit by the incoming flood tide. It does slow us down an awful lot. It's like running uphill. On the return journey, though, we'll make very good time with the tide behind us, and we'll catch up with our schedule. Please wait for the boat to be safely moored up alongside the pier for attempting to leave us, and do please take care when stepping from the boat and onto the pier. Any further questions, please don't hesitate to ask a member of crew or ticket staff that you can find here at Greenwich. Thank you.
Bueno, estamos ya por aquí nuevamente con la familia que ha venido trayendo estas bonitas camisetas de Ecuador para el mundial, para ver desde aquí. Tenemos al Byron, a la Emily, al Manuelito.
Las cositas cuando subo. Manuelito está.
Miren.
Cuidado, voy a poner para acá para que van a hacer esto.
Miren, aquí estamos subiendo y subiendo por aquí. Haciendo un pequeño videíto para que puedan conocer un poquito por aquí. Miren. Un poquillo que vayan conociendo.
Un poquillo de guamote.
Manuelito está asustado. No te asustes, Manuel, párate nomás.
Que le molestamos, no está tranquilito. Aquí quería venir la señora Manuel, que estaba preguntando acá.
¿El barco?
Ella quería venir acá.
No estaba el barco, estaba por allá.
Sí, pero no paró, por eso es que la señora decía, ¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está?
No, pero no pasamos tampoco por aquí.
No, por otro lado pasado, no sé por dónde, pero no vimos esto.
Claro, eso no estaba allá.
Estamos con los muchachos. Salude Manuelito, mande saludos ahí ese Manuelito.
Si llega este video, es que salimos bien. Va rápido la regresada, ¿no?
Ajá.
Solo la ida no me duele.
Ah. Sí, pero hay como que mira.
Aquí estamos haciendo un pequeño video para que puedan observar y mirar.
Mira.
¿Ves? Cierto, ahí están.
Practican, ¿no?
Sí, hay practican el esto.
Mira, ahí está ese que le lleva el... Esa cosa no sé qué le jala. ¿Cuándo vas a practicar eso? Y ahorita Manuel no quiere.
Ya me estoy cayendo. Llegó el vuelo. Aquí estamos con el Manuelito que nos ha venido a visitar. Ese Manuelito. Esperando que les guste este videíto que estamos haciendo desde acá, desde Greenwich en Londres, para que puedan ver y observar un poquito de lo que estamos mostrándoles. Aquí estamos caminando con el Manuelito, mi querido amigo Manuelito, que ha venido a visitarnos. Manuelito es de Riobamba, de la famosa empresa compañía estampadora Joel. Estamos llegando aquí, viniendo a ver, para ver si aquí sí nos podemos tomar un cafecito en este pequeño barco. Este es un hotel, que está el barco aquí, para poderse, cuando quieran venir a descansar o lo que sea, aquí está el hotel.
So she stayed the first week when the twins were there. She stayed in San Antonio in a hotel, and then at the end of it.
Por ahí fuimos, pues yo. Porque no me explico cómo no pudimos ver eso. Yo le iba a decir que la cosa era como dos iban a pasear, se vayan a perder. Muy lejos,
Sí está disfrutando mi amigo Manuelito.
Claro, tío, sí.
Eso, sí hable duro, como que ha comido bastante cuisito.
porque he comido bastante cuitito con conejos.
Ahí viene la Emily también. Ahora vamos a subir esto para arriba para pasarnos por el puente. Estamos ya llegando. Hemos subido todas estas escaleras. Mira, ya estamos llegando ya al puente aquí, que estábamos por ahí abajo. Ahora hemos subido aquí. Y ya salimos de aquí. Ahora vamos a hacer un videíto en esta zona. Muy hermoso para que puedan mirar. Miren. Aquí es el puente que subimos. Estábamos en la parte de abajo. Cuidado, se cae, mi amigo. Tendrá ese duro. Por allá va el Manuel, la Emily. Están viendo y observando poquito a poquito. Miren qué hermoso. Sí, le grabé muy bien.
Salió 10. De nada, no.
Yo no me siento tan fría.
No, perfecto.
La mano se acostumbra.
Claro.
Grábame, ñaña. Está grabando. Un saludo. Miren. Ahí miren, tenemos como practican para que puedan observar y puedan mirar. Aquí es cualquiera que quiere venir a este lado, se puede venir. La entrada está por la parte de ahí atrás. Ahí tienen los trajes, todas esas partes. Y pueden hacerle de probar esta parte para que puedan venir a surfear los que les guste. Ahí nos subimos, recuerdan, a esa parte de ahí encima, nos fuimos. Ahora vamos a subirnos nuevamente y nos vamos a ir para Otu Arena. Pero muy bonita esta parte, les recomiendo para que puedan venir a visitar las personas que vengan a este lugar. Muy hermoso, muy bonito. Miren, elegante. Hay bares, hay restaurantes, pueden comer, todo lo que deseen pueden hacer aquí. Ahora va a salir ya el otro hombre que se está listando, ya se va a poner las botas y miren.
¿Ya le paro?
No le
No, pero ¿quién hace de verdad esta cosa? Alguien debe estar estudiando de nuevo. Ya perdió. Yo sí me acabo de hacer.
para que vean cómo es el cine, la entrada.
¿Qué película vas a dar más buena?
Vamos a ver una película aquí con los muchachos. ¿Qué película vamos a ver? ¿O no quieren? No quieren diseñar.
Había una puerta ahí de salida, señor.
Parece que es otra cosa, no, nunca he ido por ahí. Pero bueno. Estas son las palmeras de Los Ángeles, ¿sí ves? Para este lado. Estamos aquí en la parte de O2 Arena y hemos venido ya después de comer algo, estamos ahora paseando por aquí dando una vuelta. Vamos a subirnos por este lado de aquí a ver qué es lo que hay.
para tapar la esta cosa de plástico. El papá está bueno.
Yo sí me gusta hacerles. Levi's, ahí está la tienda de Levi's. Ese carrito voy a grabarle, ve. Mira.
Abajo está el Nike de este.
Si vamos a las gorras primero.
Matters. Please report any suspicious activity to our security or police teams. If you see something, say something.
Vamos a entrar a ver en este almacén. Vamos a entrar a ver en este almacén de zapatillas también, a ver qué es lo que hay por ahí. Nuevamente estamos ya por aquí. Hemos venido a la zona de Canary Wharf, you see. Estamos ya por aquí. Como podrán mirar, observar. Esta es otra zona muy bonita de Londres. Miren, ahí también tenemos un bote muy bonito. Y así vamos viendo y andando y vamos encontrando cositas que son muy llamativas. Aquí descansa la gente en todos estos asientos que tienen alrededor. Mira. Miren ese bonito que está ahí. También. Allá tenemos otro. Y aquí va el muchacho con la camiseta de la selección de Ecuador.
Y eso que esto de aquí que está mencionando, que no es nada porque sea otro que es presidente, no es tan pero ahí sí ya es pero bueno. Y en el nuevo gallote que es vuelta ya los choques de ¿esa es la cuenca?
Sí.
Ahí así consigues esos chapillazos de los ricos.
¿Qué ve?
Cuando le llevamos al maquito, a la jarro.
Ah,
Te digo eso que traían de la jarro.
ah.
Ya
Miren,
están alquilando los botes ya. No va a extrañar, están alquilando los botes.
muchacho está ahí en el agua, está nadando.
Pero lo que es bueno de aquí es que puedes pasar por donde quieras y me dice,
Claro,
no
hay
hay
restricciones del tiempo. Está bastante libre.
en otros lugares no te dejan así manejar.
Claro, siempre está todo.
Es tu patrón.
Aquí tenemos estas partes donde se come también, mira. Aquí se entra en esta parte y aquí se puede comer tranquilamente.
Casi que eran personas.
Acá tenemos unos dos artistas. Miren. Aquí tenemos a Gulliver. Aquí tenemos la ballenita. Vamos por acá. Ya.
Ahí están los botes, güey. Aquí así.
¿Cómo estarán? No?
Déjeme ver cuánto está, déjeme ver a este y le doy cuánto vale. Dame el hecho que estaba dando ahí.
Vamos por acá.
So basically that, or you came in.
Yeah, you are great. I want just like a 13-year-old. I was like, dude, I want to go to
Celestial, y
en la sangre.